frameworks work. And here in a little bit, I'm going to tell you when exactly they work and when you want to pay attention to frameworks. But beware of the frameworks. Watch out for the principles, right? When you start seeing a bunch of frameworks on one specific topic, the topic here being content creation, right, and marketing, I want you to put your principle glasses and try to extract the principles of that main topic. Not all consistency looks the same, right? But consistency is one of those principles to be successful at content creation, right? The quality of your life and your outputs is dictated by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. So you're going to be asking yourself, what are the principles that rule over this framework? Make good decisions, because at the end of the day, right, life is just a collection of decisions. And we just want to strive to make good decisions so we can achieve the results that we want.
We've got some
Hey, I'm Luis. And I'm Luis. And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Content is Profit. This is Fonzie. Today is a solo episode. I hope you enjoyed this series of 10 episodes that we just did at the beginning of January. Remember, if you want to claim your guide on the minimal viable content, all the frameworks and principles that we talked about, go to bizbros.co/monetize. That is www.bizbros.co/monetize. Now, today, after that 10 episode series that I hope you really enjoyed, those are some of our favorite episodes, I want to offer you a gift for you to start your year. A gift that I will say has taken me a little while to develop, to learn, right? This is based on, more than anything, personal observations that I've seen in the market, people that we work with, and based on our own experience working with content in the last 5+ years. I don't know, I think 7, 8 now at this point. But I want to offer you a new pair of glasses, right? A new perspective with which you're going to look at content in 2025 for you to make good choices, make good decisions, because at the end of the day, right, life is just a collection of decisions. And we just want to strive to make good decisions so we can achieve the results that we want. So first of all, I'm going to tell you, beware of frameworks. We talk about frameworks all the time, right? And quick caveat, I don't mean beware of frameworks because they don't work. Frameworks work. And here in a little bit, I'm going to tell you when exactly they work and when you want to pay attention to frameworks. But beware of the frameworks. Watch out for the principles. This is where you want to place your focus. You want to truly understand the principles of something, right? There's a phrase I read recently. I adapted it a little bit for today's conversation, but it says, every business is different. Every content challenge is unique. Now, when we talk about frameworks usually, and again, I know we have our frameworks, we talk about them, but I feel like also they're very popular lately because the unique identifier that they provide to a business, right, usually is kind of like proprietary information. When you're talking about frameworks, is something that hopefully, the person that you're talking to, they develop themselves and they're sharing that, they're selling that framework to other people, right? The minimal viable content, that is a framework that we pretty much like run against, right? We kind of like learned it throughout the years. We put it together and now we share it with people. We share it for free. We don't sell that one. We share it for free because we want to help you move your content forward. But that being said, frameworks can work, right? Frameworks are good. They work, but they do depend on the circumstances, right? Like we mentioned earlier, every business is different, right? Your business might be very different to the person that you're buying that framework from, right? Yes, they might have an awesome personality. They might be great on camera. You really feel attracted to them, but, they might be selling a course and their framework for people that have a business that they sell smaller products, right? Physical products. And you might be selling, online info products, or you might be selling coaching, high ticket client. Who knows, right? So make sure you're evaluating those circumstances by which that framework was created. Now, this is the next step of it. Frameworks can work, right, if used under the right circumstances. But principles can help you create your own frameworks, right, that works in your circumstances. And this is the new lens that I want you to put on, right? Because the frameworks are the equivalent of the shiny objects now in the market. When you go out and you scroll online, you're gonna see tons of frameworks, tons of different ways to achieve one thing. And you're gonna be like, well, maybe this is the one, right? Trust me, people are positioning themselves as different, not just something as new, something different. So you get interested, right? Because it's going to be easier for you not having to accept that, what you were doing was wrong. It's going to be easier for you, and this is all subconscious, to move into a new solution and be like, all right, I'll try this one, right? And this one will be the result. Even worse, a lot of times we buy the frameworks and we don't do anything. We feel accomplished just by buying the thing and just leave it on the side and not doing anything. But I don't want this to turn into a rant, right? What I want to focus on is principles. This is the new pair of glasses that I want you to look at things, right? When you start seeing a bunch of frameworks on one specific topic, the topic here being content creation, right, and marketing, I want you to put your principle glasses and try to extract the principles of that main topic. I'm going to butcher a little bit this phrase. Actually, I'm completely going to butcher it. But I remember I was reading, a piece of an essay that David Perel wrote online. If you don't know who he is, he's a great writer online. He writes in public. He teaches people how to write. And he was talking how one of his favorite authors would dive into certain specific topics. But then what he would do is, across multiple books of the same topic, he would try to sort and filter the principles of those books. And then he said once he understood the main principles of a topic, he could easily first better understand the topic so he can create his own frameworks, right? And he would be in like the top, probably I would say probably the 1% of people that understood that topic. So when we're talking about content creation, right, and when we're talking about marketing, it is very easy to get lost in frameworks, especially because a lot of times we might be challenged with, results. We want the results quick, right? Maybe we don't have that much cushion in our bank accounts, and you're like, I need an ROI. And then when we scroll and we see these offers of, very shiny, awesome frameworks that are delivering results to others, we want to be that person. So we're like, all right, let me dive into this. But again, the circumstances might not be the right ones for you. So if you're going to buy a framework or, invest in one of those, make sure you're evaluating logically, is this the right thing for me based on what I sell, my circumstances? But even better, you can look at that framework and say, okay, well, what are the principles that framework is operating from, right? Is it content creation? Is it marketing? What are the principles of content creation? What are the principles of marketing, of making those successful, right? And we talked a lot about, this is part of the publishing pyramid. We talked about, we talked a lot about consistency. Not all consistency looks the same, right? But consistency is one of those principles to be successful at content creation, right? We talked a lot about quality of the message over quality of the production. Message is key, and we're gonna break those down here in a little bit. As you can see, I got my trusty notebook right here. But what I want you to think about, the glasses, right, is every time you see one of these topics that you want to dive in, doesn't have to be content creation or marketing, but for the sake of the example, I know you come here to Content is Profit to learn about this stuff, about content creation and how to turn your content into profit. So we're going to look at it under that lens, right? You start seeing a framework and you start thinking about, well, what are the principles that rule over that framework? And then as you ask yourself that question, because we know that the quality of your life and your outputs is dictated by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. So you're going to be asking yourself, what are the principles that rule over this framework? And eventually you're going to start seeing it, right? Oh, well, the principle is that of consistency, or the principle is that of attention. How are they driving attention? Now, their framework might have a very specific way of driving attention, but is that way the best one for you? Maybe their principle is, talking to the masses, right? Gathering a big audience. Do I really need the big audience to sell what I'm trying to sell? Maybe you need more of a one-on-one conversations. Again, very different circumstances. But once you learn these principles, it is going to be easier for you to operate from there, right? Because how the great Stephen Covey said in 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, start with the end in mind. You have your goal. Hopefully, you already wrote down all your New Year resolutions for 2025, or your projects, all the big things that you want to do, or how Jesse Itzler says, your misogi. What is that one thing that is going to dictate your year? But once you have that, you can break it down into the principles, and then what are the frameworks that you are going to use to make this successful. Now, of course, you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're jumping from one framework to the other, right? You do need to invest some time into whatever you decide you're going to do. Invest some time into it. Take action, right? Be objective about your results and how you are perceiving that data, and then make a decision on whether that framework works for you or not, and move on to the next thing. Now, if it works, don't make that mistake that me and my brother did at the very beginning, which, we did the 45 live, it worked amazingly, and then we stopped doing it, for a very, very long time, until we had a good friend and future and client at that time, Josh 40, come to us and say, like, if that worked for you guys, why did you stop doing it? And a lot of people make that mistake. They do something that works, and then they move on to the next shiny object syndrome, shiny object, and they left on a side something that was working for them. So don't be that person. Now, the principle that we identified, the main one, you probably heard of it, but I want to break it down a little bit for you, is quality of the message. A lot of people get fixated on the production. You got the lights, the backlights right here. You got, the nice camera, the light on that side. Boom, boom, boom. Sure, it is very nice to have your content look good, but I want you to do this thought exercise with me. Have you ever watched a video that is super highly produced, but in the first 30 seconds, you find yourself clicking out of it? I'm going to take a risk and say, yes, you have come across a video like that. Or have you come across a video that is recorded with, a webcam that is kind of pixelated, not the best quality, the light is like all over the place, but the message is so good. It's just a talking head. And the person that is talking is so on point with these stories, their insights, the things that they're talking about, that you stay paying attention for an hour or more, right? I'm going to take a risk and say, yes, you have experienced that too. So again, quality of the message over quality of the production. And that is one of the principles that I want you to focus the most for this year, for 2025. Again, first of all, the pair of glasses that you're going to be wearing is that one of identifying principles when you see frameworks and you enter conversations. Now, one of the principles that I would like to gift you for this 2025 is that one of the quality of the message, right? And I'm going to break it into 4 things here. Number 1, you hear all the time, storytelling. There's plenty of frameworks for storytelling. Again, ultra caveat, you can get lost in the amount of frameworks that there are for telling stories. Now, what I would advise is for you to get good at the craft. Sure, you can use ChatGPT and it can help you out, AI, whatever you want. Me personally, I like to develop the skill. When I'm going to be out in real life, shaking hands, I'm not going to have AI talking for me, right? I'm going to have to share those stories myself. And also, me personally, I like the journey of learning. So how to share stories. What makes a good story, right? Start going down that route. What makes a good story? Is it entertaining, or is it a story that, changes beliefs and transformation? That part is now a little bit more framework talk, because you're talking about, what is a good story based on the circumstances that I have, right? What is a good story if I'm trying to sell a high ticket product? What is a good story if I'm trying to sell a low ticket product or physical product, right? There's different ways to do it. But story is at the core of good message. The other one is insight. Stories are going to help you move the emotional mind. They're going to help you right? Get people invested into it and motivated, very excited. But then everybody's going to try to logically get out of the cell, out of the conversation. So good message, right? Good quality of the message has insights. What are facts? What are, do you have any numbers or, other stories that talk a little bit more to the logical mind? If you don't have numbers, you can use stories, right? That's why people use testimonials, because people can see themselves in the hero of the story. If somebody else is a hero of the story and they achieve the goal, and that person is similar to me, I'm going to relate to that person, right? So again, how do you portray those insights inside of your story? Again, how do you change the beliefs? What is the transformation that the person is going through? And at the base of it is understanding who you are talking to, right? What are their problems? What are their solutions? Knowing those things are going to help you craft some incredible stories. And don't forget to practice. You need to get in front of the camera, or you need to put the keyboard in front of you, start writing. You need to practice your storytelling. And now that I've offered you these new pair of glasses, hopefully you're going to start your 2025 not pulling out your wallet, and because your resolution is to become a good marketer, a good storyteller, a good content creator, whatever it is. You're not going to start spending on, all the self-improvement courses in the world or frameworks out there. And quick parentheses, I totally believe in, self-education. I love courses. I love learning and all that stuff. What I'm asking of you is to put your glasses and try to, think, slow down, and come up with the conclusion yourself on whether you actually need this, or if you already know the principles of that topic and you get to create your own framework. And for those that might be a little bit afraid, you might be a little bit, experiencing a little bit of resistance on the topic of putting yourself in front of the camera, sharing your message, right? I don't have anything special to talk about. I am using other frameworks that I learned, throughout my journey. I am, my business, you might be thinking my business doesn't have anything special, right? It's nothing different than other business. I'm going to give you the one thing that is going to differentiate it from everybody else, right? But the caveat here is that it won't happen. It won't differentiate yourself if you don't put yourself in front of the camera, because that one thing is your personality. And I came across this the more we did podcast episodes, right? The more conversations we were having with incredible guests, right? People that I would have never thought I could have the opportunity to have a conversation with, right? After the conversations, you see how that relationship starts developing, how you start connecting with them, and it's because of your personality, right? And eventually my confidence started growing. I started reaching to more people, and now, look at where we are with our podcast. But also, it's kind of reassuring to hear pretty big people talk about it, right? And a huge investor and believer in content as one of the, pretty much biggest levers for wealth building. His name is Naval Ravikant. Look him up if you're not familiar with him. I would say he's like a modern philosopher. He says that one of differentiators for content is your personality. So you can imagine how reassuring that was when he said it. I was already thinking that. I was like, that's pretty cool, right? So I want to invite you to lean into your personality, lean in, as cliche as it sounds, on who you are for your content for this 2025. Make sure you put on your perspective glasses and trying to figure out what are the principles, how you can operate, and then start with the end in mind, right? Start with the end in mind, discover the principles, and then create your own framework out of those principles, and make sure you invest the time on taking action, and then look at the results objectively, and then rinse and repeat. I hope that was good for you. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. If you want me to talk more about this, if you want to have a discussion with me, feel free to reach out at Fonzie Creates on Instagram, on Facebook. And again, don't forget to go and claim the minimal viable content. It's a good principle, framework as well on how we look at content to make it sustainable so we can do it for a long time. I gave you all this spiel about frameworks, and now I'm telling you to go get ours. I'll say it is free So no commitment in there. All you got to do is go to bizbros.co/monetize. That is bizbros.co/monetize. Claim it, and I'll see you on the next one. See ya.